Okay, so it's time for a fish room update. This is the 90. I have moved it and now it's planted. There's only two angels and I just finished moving the big Severum out from the 220. So he's a little stressed out still, but he was being super aggressive towards the other two Severums in the 220. And there he is peeking out. He's really pretty when he gets, when he's not stressed and his true colors come out. I just moved my orange angelfish out of the 90 because it wouldn't leave him alone. The two silver angels seem to be okay with him. We'll see how it goes. But he's a big fish in a little pond right now. And I have a 260 gallon aquarium and a 115 that I have yet to set up. Which is why this one got moved. I also moved the rack for the 29 gallon aquariums. I have yet to move the rack for the 55, but I wanted to go ahead and do an update and show what the fish room looks like now. With that being the 90, here is the 220 with the silver dollars and the gold Severum and the turquoise Severum. The turquoise has got a bit of an owie on the forehead from being chased by the big Severum that was given to me. All three Severums were gifted to me by a fellow aquarist. I take care of his aquariums and they're super packed, and all three of these are males, so I had to move them. I was hoping to be able to do it with the 220, but unfortunately not quite. There are also three red-head Tapapo geophagus in here that are doing really well. There's my big one. He's getting some really nice color. He'll come right up to the surface when I feed. He's not scared of the silver dollars anymore. The rest of the fish tend to be a little skittish because the silvers are just so aggressive about feeding, and the floor is typically all wet because they just go crazy. But he's the biggest. I've had him in there for quite a while. He's got some really nice red on his head, like I said, and then also on his dorsal fin and his tail. Some really nice blues in there too. As you can see, he's just going crazy because he thinks I'm going to feed him. And of course there's the gold one. He's really pretty and getting some good size. Still have my flagtail cats that are doing well. There are two bushy-nosed plecos in here, a male and a female. I don't know where they are at the moment. I took the massive pleco out of here and took it to one of the local fish stores. He was just too big and it was too hard to get food to him with the silver dollars in here. They just anything and everything goes in their mouth. So this guy here is pretty cool. I can take snails and crush them and drop them in. He'll scarf them down. The gold tries to get him too, but he's kind of a pig like the silvers. There's one of the bushies right there. Just went around the corner of the rock. But he's got some nice streamers. I think the gold's a male as well. I've seen these two blocking and pushing on each other, trying to mix, show who's bigger and tougher and wants the dominance. But the big Severum I just moved is at least twice the size of the gold and at least half again as big as the turquoise. I've been in here for quite a while. I hadn't seen any aggression amongst the three until today when I was down here doing some work. You can see how big the silver dollars are getting. My crosshatch there is 1 inch marks to kind of give an idea of how big some of these guys are getting. Really happy with these guys. My own herbivore-ish piranha, as it were, since they're in the same family. But there are some others I'd like to get, some tiger stripes. There's also some greens. Unfortunately, I don't think the greens stay green, but there are some others that are really pretty. But this one's good for now. I also have the 260. I could always do silver dollars in, but I want to do it planted in the 260 because it's 30 inches wide by 24 inches deep, which is perfect for plants. So, of course, here's the multi-tank. It's going great guns as usual. Not much has changed in there. I did sell some to a local hobbyist here recently, but can't really tell. There's the multi-punk cat hanging out. He's kind of population control. He needs to do a better job. And then there's the blank spot where the 29 gallon rack used to be. There's the blank spot where the 90 used to be. Of course, the 55 rack is still yet to be moved. I took down 2 bow front aquariums and a 20-gallon hex tank and combined everything into other aquariums. So I moved the honey brahmies out of the bow front into here. There's also a yo-yo loach in here. There's one murder bean pea puffer, a bumblebee catfish that's maybe 2 inches. He's pretty small, don't see him a whole lot, and one coolie loach, and then zebra danios and a few guppies. And then down below, of course, is the Synodontis tank. She only comes out when I feed, typically hides there on the left. She got the multis in there just for dither fish. I was hoping it would get her to come out more. They don't back down from her at all. I was hoping she'd feed on their offspring and kind of do population control, but she's not doing any better than the multi-punctatus in the 100-gallon, because as you can see, there are plenty of brand new fry, and you can see there's several juveniles in there as well. So she comes out and cruises during feeding time, and they just chase her like no tomorrow. And then the new look is this. When I come into the fish room, I now have 6 plugs in the ceiling. Took me a little bit to get the wire run, but there's my 29 planted. There's just some guppies and a bunch of glass shrimp, cherry shrimp, and a albino bushy nose pleco. I haven't found if it's a male or a female yet. It's not growing any whiskers yet. Haven't seen this one as much because of where the 29-gallon rack was located. It's very apparent that it needs some rework, and so maybe here in the near future I'll be able to get to it. There's the albino bushy nose right there. Got some good size on it. By this point I would think it had some whiskers, so it might be a female. I might have to try and, I'll give you a better view there, I might have to try and move it into another tank with a male, see what I get out of it. This tank down here was the clown pleco tank, and when I took it down I found that I had a infusoria culture going really well. I'm hoping I didn't lose the culture in moving tanks around and refilling and all, but I moved my other male and female murder beans in here, and I'm hoping that with all the Java moss and places they can kind of squirt in and out of, it's just the 2 of them. There's plenty of snails in here for them to feed on. I'm hoping they'll maybe get frisky and spawn for me. I'm not, as to my knowledge, I don't know that I've been successful with having them spawn. They've been in the 29-gallon planted tank. They could have spawned in there, but with a power filter going, any offspring would have gotten sucked up in the filter. I just have the sponge in here and 2 fish. It should be just fine, and we'll see what happens. And then there's the orange angelfish that I just moved because he wouldn't leave the big severum alone. There's one of my clown plecos in there. I have 4. I think 3 of them may be males. I'm not sure. They get these odontids on their aft body, about from where the dorsal fin is back. They're kind of hard to tell the difference between males and females even with that, because the females get them a little bit too. A gravid female will get really nice and chubby, and so these guys aren't quite like the bushy nose where they'll just start spawning on their own. From what I've read, they kind of need a dry season, and then they might be induced to start. And other hobbyists have just been lucky and they've just started on their own. There is another one underneath the alder logs back there. These alder logs, I cut them and then I just dropped them into the aquarium and let them float until they sank. I didn't boil them or steam them or clean them or anything, and that's what got my good infusoria going in the murder bean tank. This one's empty. That's all snails that I'm using as feed for my puffers and other fish. That's dry seaweed in there that once it gets floated in the tank for a while, it expands back out to its full length, and the snails seem to like it. I do feed it to the baby plecos too. As you can see, there's some in there. Turn on this other light to give you some better view. And I'll go around the back so the light shines through. This is my guppies. A couple of dojo loaches in there too. And then this is the grow tanks. Grow out tanks for my plecos. That's the algae seaweed. These are all albinos in here. With a bunch of snails. I need to get the snails cleaned out of here. There's a few guppy fry in here as well. And then this is a mixed brood. I go through and I try and catch out the albinos periodically and move them into one tank. So I just have albinos by themselves and calicos by themselves. It's just a personal preference. But that's what's going on here. Hopefully we'll get some spawning action in the future from some different fish than bushy nose. But anyway, that's all.